It is midnight. Boots crunch loudly in what ought to be a quiet and sacred place. A graveyard sits just outside of the city. The full moon is out, and yet the lights of the city illuminate the surrounding fog, creating a pale, white wall the graveyard looks out toward. Silhouetted against the scene is the lurking figure of a man, fedora on head, face illuminated only faintly in red by a lit cigarette. "Tommy?" the man whispers. "Yo, Tom, where ya at? I gots the money." This man continues his trembling walk through the dark until he reaches his sought-after destination, a grave marked by a stone statue of a beautiful, affluent-looking, crying woman. It reads, Countess Dullingen, 1801, sought and found death. "Damn it, Tom, where are ya?" the shadowy man mumbles as he looks around frantically. Some damn meeting place he chose. Wonder if he's trying to off me or something. As the man paces back and forth, he stops and sees something on the ground, barely illuminated by the light of the city in the distance. The perpetual rain streamed as it always does along the earthen floor in little lines, but our mystery man almost believed he could detect a hint of red within. From a holster in his trench coat, he draws a six-shooter, and from his coat pocket he retrieves a flashlight. There's no mistaking it. Blood is most definitely mixed in with this stream of rainwater. Trembling, he follows the little stream, gun pointed forward, until he reaches a tree where he stops to think. The stream comes from further up the hill he stood on, coming from the forest of dark, jagged trees ahead, and yet the water is clear up ahead, running without any red. He follows the stream with his eyes until he sees where the trail of red starts. It seems the water gains its red tinge here at this very tree he's standing near. He shines his light upon the tree and sees streams of bright red blood running down it. He follows the blood up the tree with his light. There, laying against the tree upside down and impaled against a branch, he sees the pale, glassy-eyed face of his business partner, their throat ripped out and their blood running down their own face. The man turns and runs and doesn't stop screaming. It was just like any other day in the city. Smoke from a million cigarettes rose up and meshed with the already gray skies while rain pissed down at all hours of the day, every drop having a faint, smoky taste for some reason nobody could figure out. It was on this day like any other that a smoking hot dame walked into the office of Detective McCoy. "Are you Detective McCoy?" the femininely female voice femmed from across the room. "I haven't been called that in a long time, Toots," the grizzled detective grizzed from across the desk, looking up from the cover of his super cool fedora and taking a sip from his Vanta black coffee. "By that he means we haven't had any clients in 4 months. Lucy, McCoy's faithful secretary, mournfully chimed in. "It's been 4 months?" McCoy asks. "How the hell have we been paying the bills?" "Prostitution, mainly," Lucy says. "Oh, my poor darling," McCoy says mournfully. "You shouldn't have to do that to keep my business afloat." "I never said I was the one doing the prostitution, sir," Lucy says. "Your memory must be going really bad if you don't remember what you've been up to all month." "Maybe I ought to lay off the sauce," McCoy says. "Yes, only consuming hot sauce for breakfast, lunch, and dinner might be having negative effects on your health, sir," Lucy replies. The hot dame cleared her throat in a damely way, getting the attention of the two knucklefucks who had forgotten all about her. "My name is Charlotte Hotpants," the hot dame hotted, "and I have a case for you. My sweetheart, Vinny, has gone missing, and the police have given up the search." "The police?" McCoy asked. "Give up?" "Well, no," Charlotte Hotpants says. "It's more that they're too busy ever since Mr. Trillion, our local everything baron, hired them all on as private security. Anyway, that's not important. My sweetheart Vinny has been having trouble finding work. Vinny hasn't been allowed in any of the factories or construction sites, so they went to go work at Tony's on 3rd Street. Thing is, ever since my beautiful Vinny started working there, they've been coming home more and more tired. And pale, too. Then, a few nights ago, Vinny went to work and never came back." We'll take the case, McCoy says. You can scan the QR code on my office door if you're curious about pricing. McCoy holsters his long-barreled 500 caliber Magnum revolver and throws on his long trench coat before turning to his faithful secretary. You coming with me, doll? McCoy asks. Sure, Lucy says, holstering her compact pistol and straightening her hair while trying to look confident. She clears her throat and in a shaky voice says, I mean, one of us has to solve the case. McCoy and Lucy rip down the roads in the McCoy car at breakneck speed. Rain, as always, lashed against their car like the city's underlying evil pressing futilely against their crusade of cigar-scented justice. What did you think of the broad? McCoy asks. The broad chest or broad hips? Lucy asks. They're both great in my opinion. I meant the broad strokes of her personality, McCoy replies. She seemed genuine, Lucy says. Well, about as genuine as any of the worried dames who manage to climb the perforated metal stairs outside our office in high heels tend to be. What do you make of this Vinny character? What kind of discrimination do you figure they're facing in the workforce? How should I know? Lucy asks. Would have been a good question to ask Miss Hot Pants while we were there. Questions are for the weak-minded who hesitate, doll, McCoy says. And for detectives whose job it is to know things, Lucy adds. Are you done driving in circles, McCoy? I'd like to enter Tony's now. McCoy performs a handbrake turn, swinging around in a wide arc and perfectly parallel parking in front of Tony's, which is located just across the street from their office. Oh, we didn't crash this time and get injured, Lucy says. How nice. I rolled an 18, McCoy says proudly. Not gonna ask what that means, Lucy sighs. The two step outside and gaze upon Tony's. That is, Tony's dancing girls, as specified by a glowing neon pink sign. What the? McCoy exclaims aghast. What happened to Tony's pizza? I don't know, Lucy says. He changed it to a strip club after that trip he took overseas. Back in October? McCoy asks. Wait, whose extra cheesy pizza have I been eating for the last 6 months then? I don't know, Lucy confesses. Detective McCoy and his faithful secretary enter Tony's dancing girls, both of them instantly bathed in neon pink lights. McCoy quickly spots Tony at the back of the establishment, sitting in the shade with 5 women, all dressed in black gothic lingerie. Well, if it isn't Zuck McCoy, Tony says. Long time no see. Tell me about it, McCoy says. I haven't seen you walking around lately. Yeah, I'm a hard-working man, McCoy, Tony says. I show up before sunrise and work here until sunset. Who are these broads? McCoy asks. Oh, these are my elite gals, Tony says, gesturing to his 5 female companions. I take only my most beautiful dancers and give them a promotion from time to time. Sometimes I send them on little house calls, which pay really well. We were wondering if you knew anything about a guy named Vinny, McCoy says. Guy named Vinny, Tony asks. Don't know no guys named Vinny. Actually, I know tons of guys named Vinny, but none of them work here. One of my gals is named Vinny, though. One of your gals? McCoy asks. Oh, sure, she walked around with short hair, Tony said. But she always went out on the dance floor in a dress I picked out for her. Here, take a look. Tony passes 2 photos to McCoy. One is of a young woman with short hair, overalls, and an oil-stained shirt. The other was of the same woman in a skimpy red outfit, her hair done up to be wavier and more flowing. Yeesh. Dropping her whole aesthetic for $1, McCoy says. It's a sad economy. For lots of bucks, Tony corrected fervently. Ever since certain laws have been lifted, the factories and construction sites have been turning away broads. Honestly, she should be thanking me for giving her this job. In fact, I was thinking of calling you about her, but I guess somebody else already has. They went missing a few nights ago. I sent them on a house call and they never came back. Here's the address. Tony hands McCoy a slip of paper, and McCoy reads it over. "You got any questions for the man, doll?" McCoy asks. "Doll? Doll, where are you?" McCoy only now realized that Lucy wasn't at his side, and turning around he saw Lucy leaning on the runway with a martini in her hand. A topless woman was kneeling in front of her, seemingly charmed as Lucy talked. "The first Derringers were made in 1825 by Henry Derringer and were like old-timey pirate pistols, but were cut in half," Lucy says. "Lots of women prefer Derringers because they're easily concealable, but I prefer having more shots available. That's why I have this semi-automatic pocket pistol. Not much stopping power, but then again, we're talking men here, not bears. This one has a custom sight on it." "Hey!" McCoy snaps. "We're doing an investigation here. You gotta stay focused, doll." "God forbid I leave the investigating up to the private investigator," Lucy groans. "Did he just call you doll?" the stripper asks. "That's pretty inappropriate, you know. You shouldn't put up with that. That's the kind of thing I'm paid to put up with." "Oh, he didn't call me doll," Lucy says. "He called me Doll. It's my last name. You know, like Roald Dahl, author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory." "Damn it, doll, will you stop bringing up your grandfather every chance you get?" McCoy grundles. "Let's go. Time's a-wastin'." Once again, the wheels of the McCoy car screech as McCoy and Lucy go ripping around the corners of V city streets. "I never took Tony for such a sleaze before," McCoy crunks. "I mean, sex work is one thing, but having his best gal sit around him like status symbols? I'm worried he might be a womanizer, doll." "He's hit on me literally every time we went to him for pizza," Lucy says. "You might have noticed if you weren't ogling the pies. You know, I was doing work in there. I was asking that stripper about her working conditions. She used to work at the Diamondback before it closed down a few months ago when the owner died mysteriously. According to her, Tony takes a pretty unfair cut of the money. They're basically living off of scraps there. And then she asked me if I had any hobbies, and I kinda zoned out and started talking about guns, and oh, look, she tucked her phone number into my bra. I didn't even notice because I was caught up in my gun facts." "I'm actually really disappointed in Tony," McCoy says. "I'm going to have a talk with him about treating his employees better. If anything, he should adopt my principles of paying my employees." "Yeah, somehow I don't think you're going to convince him to pay his workers more than he gets," Lucy says. "Without your coffee and paperwork, I wouldn't be able to do the shooting and investigating," McCoy says. "Tony owns the building, but his customers ain't coming there to look at the decor or his ugly mug. Those ladies bring all of the business. They deserve at least as much as he gets, and I'm gonna have a stern word with him about it." Lucy smiles to herself. "Oh, that's why I haven't quit working for you yet," Lucy says. "I almost forgot." "We're here," McCoy says. McCoy pulls the handbrake and swings the car around in a wide arc. They slam into the curb and roll over it, crashing into the wall of the apartment complex. Bricks and dust shower down onto the McCoy car. "Sorry," McCoy says. "Rolled an 8 that time." "Just help me find my glasses off the dashboard," Lucy groans. The two step out of the McCoy car. Lucy stretching with audible cracking sounds and McCoy wiping the blood from his nose. Looking around, they see that 2 or 3 police cars are stationed outside. "You think it's a coincidence the cops are here?" McCoy asks. "Probably," Lucy says. "This city is the only city in America with a higher rate of murders than of births. We're on track to be depopulated by the year 2415. Anyway, we'll know for sure once we're inside." McCoy and Lucy climbed the stairs of the dilapidated old apartment. The smell of mold was prominent throughout. All windows were cracked or broken, trash was in every corner, and exposed pipes and wires took on active water damage. It was clear that the landlord hadn't done any maintenance since the day the place was theirs. "The sign outside said prices start as low as $4,500 a month," Lucy remarks. "It's one of the city's budget apartments." They reach the apartment on the address slip and find the door open, with a lone police officer pacing back and forth inside. The officer looks up at McCoy and smiles. Well, if it ain't the good detective and his faithful secretary," the officer exclaims. "Didn't I bust you for a phishing scam last year?" McCoy asks. And for stealing the jade diamond before that. Ah, but before that, Remy the Roach was a used car salesman, Officer Remy says. And before that, I ran a dry cleaner. Remy is more than just a criminal. I'm a survivor. And right now, I'm a cop. So, what brings you here? Missing person case, McCoy says. A dancing girl's gone missing, and apparently this was her last job. Well, I guess she'd be a prime suspect for the murder that's been committed here, Remy says. Why don't you, come see for yourself? McCoy and Lucy entered the apartment. The smell of death filled the air. Laying on the floor before them was an older man, sprawled out on his back. His throat had been ripped open, and his blood soaked the carpet through. A newspaper, torn to shreds, sits next to the body. Lucy averts her eyes for a moment, before steeling herself. Hey, you didn't hurl this time, McCoy says in a mocking tone. Well, this time the body didn't fall out of a closet onto me and get blood all over my nice shirt, Lucy says defensively, and onto my glasses, and my face, and into my mouth, and... Lucy shudders. McCoy kneels down and examines the body closely, and then pulls out a magnifying glass. He scans every inch of the corpse up and down, nodding and humming to himself. My God, McCoy declares. They're dead. This is a corpse. Lucy sighs and crouches down next to McCoy. Rolled low, did we? Lucy says before giving the body a cursory glance. That's odd, Lucy says. Remy, any of you boys in blue take note of these 2 little puncture wounds on the side of the neck? Honestly, none of us looked that closely, Remy says. It's, pretty icky. Was anything obviously taken? Lucy asks. Nothing obvious, Remy says. Although we do think an attempt was made on that vault on the wall. McCoy and Lucy look into the adjoining room and see a hole ripped out of the wall where a vault would have been. It was a successful attempt, so I guess technically something was taken, Remy says. What's with this shredded newspaper? Lucy asks. It's a shredded newspaper, Remy says. Brilliant observation, Lucy says. There's blood on it. Could have been torn up by the same thing that tore out the man's throat. McCoy steps into the adjoining room and sees a bookshelf and piles of discarded books on the floor. What's the deal with these? McCoy asks. Place looks like it's been ransacked. Yeah, Remy says. We've come to the conclusion that the place was ransacked. Weird, McCoy says. They ripped out the vault, which I assume had something valuable in it. And then they knocked over a bunch of books. And then they left without taking anything else. Doll, want to come help me restock this bookshelf? Lucy, a little confused, comes over. The 2 of them begin putting books and trinkets back on the shelf until there were no items left on the floor. 1 book short of a full shelf, McCoy says. Think that's a coincidence, Doll? You never know, Lucy says. I couldn't help but notice blood was both on the inside and outside of some of these books. Looks like our perp decided to skim read after the murder. Who is this guy anyway? McCoy asks. Professor of occult studies, Remy says. Moved to America from Germany a ways back before moving here. Has some, mob connections. The mob, they're, awful superstitious these days, and they often consulted the old man about, spooky matters. Or so the rumors say. McCoy looks over the dead man's desk, which is cluttered with mail, documents, and newspapers. He picks one up and glances over it, but fails to glean any information from the note. He drops it down on the desk and returns to Lucy. Tell us about the discovery of the body, Lucy says to Remy. Landlord busted in this morning because the old professor was behind on rent, Remy says. That's when the body was discovered. Door was not only locked, but bolted from the inside. Perp must have come through the window, Lucy says. Well, the window was open, Remy says. But we're on the 4th floor. There's no fire escape or handholds on that wall. Well, what do you think, Doll? McCoy says. Hard to say, Lucy replies. We should probably give the apartment a good once-over. Lucy and McCoy spend about an hour searching the apartment up and down. The only extra evidence they're able to find are scratches on the wall, leading to where the vault in the wall was. The 4 parallel scratches in the brick give the impression of claw marks. Well, I'm stumped, McCoy says. Maybe we ought to talk to Tony again, Lucy says. I have a weird feeling he's not telling us everything he knows. I guess that'll be worth it, McCoy says. Come on. The sun's setting and Tony's is closing soon. Yeah, I'll be turning in soon too, Remy says. Don't you need to watch the crime scene? Lucy asks. Remy says with a shrug. New policy. We only guard the crime scene for about half a day, and then we kind of just leave the body there and let the rats and cannibals do the rest. As McCoy and Lucy leave the room, a man with a knife and fork checks in to see if the officer has left yet. McCoy and Lucy step out onto the rainy city street. Street lights flicker to life as the sun fully dips below the horizon. McCoy lights up a cigarette and takes a long drag before letting out a huge puff of smoke. Those things will kill you, Lucy says. Death can earn me when it halves me, McCoy says. Huh? Lucy says, confused. A little Victorian paper boy stands a few feet away from the two, waving a rolled-up newspaper in the air. Come get your newspaper, the boy cries. Newspaper here. Read all about it. Evening edition of the City Times. McCoy approaches the newspaper boy casually and says, Tiny Tim. It's Jerome, actually, the paper boy says. Okay, Tim, McCoy says. You know that professor who lives in that apartment? Old man. Sigmund Freud vibes. Oh, yeah, Jerome says. He's always been nice to me. Always bought his paper from me and even gave me sweets sometimes. My best customer. Well, he's been murdered as fuck, McCoy says. What? Jerome stammers. So if he got a newspaper a few days ago, he would have gotten it from you, McCoy asks. I guess so, sir, Jerome says. Do you happen to still have a copy of the paper from, a few days ago? McCoy asks. I don't know, mister, Jerome says. Maybe while I look through my bag here, you can, make me a luck roll. Oh shit, Jerome says. I actually have a motherfucking copy of the paper I had the last time I saw him. McCoy glances over the headline quickly. Hey, doll, McCoy says. Get over here. Lucy looks at the headline, which reads, New City Ordinance Solidified. Gender Employment Discrimination Protection Revoked. If this was that night's paper, then it's the same paper that was shredded next to the body, McCoy says. It's a shame. I don't know what to make of it. Well, it's a headline that would make Vinny especially upset, Lucy says. That implicates her in this, McCoy says. But why would she agree to go murder someone? Maybe she didn't, Lucy says. The newspaper was beside the professor, and he was still wearing his shoes. I think whoever broke in there must have done so before the professor got back from work. The intruder came through the window, and then the professor came inside and locked and bolted the door behind him. He walks into the living room and sees the intruder ripping the vault out of the wall in the other room. And the intruder kills him to make sure there was no witnesses, McCoy says. Or perhaps not, Lucy says. Whatever was in that vault seems to be disconnected from the missing book. I think that perhaps the burglar went off script. McCoy shrugs. Shrug. So, maybe it was the newspaper, Lucy says. If we assume it was Vinny who did the break-in, it might have been the newspaper that made her go off script. If only there was a way to know what was in that vault, McCoy says. Or what book was taken. Maybe we can go to the city university where the professor worked at, Lucy says. They might fill us in on what he's been up to for the last few days. Yeah, let's go there and have an ask around, McCoy says. I agree, Jerome says. Huh? What? Just then, Remy comes charging out of the apartment complex, running towards his car. From his radio, gunfire and a panicked, crackling voice spills out. We need backup, the voice from the radio says. We need backup, now! There's some kind of wild animal in here. I swear to God, it ripped my partner's throat out. What the hell is going on, McCoy says. I don't know, Remy says, leaping into a squad car and slamming on the accelerator. McCoy and Lucy leap into the McCoy car, with Lucy frantically clipping her seatbelt. Hold on to your butts, McCoy says. Oi, you got it, boss, Jerome says from the back. Lucy lets out an exasperated sigh. Thanks for taking me out to brunch, boss. Don't sweat it, doll. It's Employee Appreciation Day, and it stopped raining for the first time in like a year, so I thought, what the hell? Oh, by the way, I think I accidentally got one of your Amazon orders again. It's like a anime bunny girl lingerie. Lingerie? It's pronounced lingerie. What the hell are you talking about? It's spelled lingerie. It's a French word derived from their word for linen. It's pronounced lingerie. How do you not know this? You're like 10 years older than me. Didn't you go to college? Aren't you supposed to be an accomplished adult? I really don't appreciate having my maturity challenged by a shortstop who cosplayed as a girl from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion, you're just trying to piss me off. Look, is the bunny lingerie yours or not? Yes, it's mine. I like dressing up in the privacy of my own home, okay? Jesus, this is embarrassing. Don't worry, doll. I enjoy it too. The bunny lingerie is super comfortable, by the way. You made a good purchase. How do you know that it's comfortable? Oh. Yeah, you can keep that one and I'll just reorder it. By the way, did you know that you can see the next installment of Vampires and Lingerie a week early right now on Patreon? What the fuck are you talking about? Perpetual rain endlessly casts itself down at the streets of the city, a slow and steady assault that will one day reduce the metropolis to ruin as the mill of erosion grinds slow but sure. A battered old car goes up and over a slight hill in the road, gaining air for a moment before landing and ripping down the road at dangerous speeds. The carriage within sits dark, lit intermittently when passing under a streetlight. First, this professor character gets murdered by having his throat ripped out, and now a bunch of cops are having their throats ripped out by some kind of monster, McCoy says. Figure it's a coincidence? Oh my god, please slow down, sir, we're going to die, Lucy says calmly. We're not going to die tonight, doll, McCoy says. Not with my 6-shooter in my pocket. First of all, your Smith & Wesson Model 500 has a 5-round capacity, Lewis mumbles in panic. That makes it a 5-shooter, if anything. Second of all, I don't think you can shoot a building to prevent us from crashing into it. You crack me up, doll, McCoy chuckles. McCoy removes his face from the steering wheel, blood running out of his crumpled nose. Lucy's hair is now a complete mess, and one of the lenses of her glasses is cracked when she retrieves it from the dashboard. See? McCoy says. Shortcut. Lucy responds by grabbing McCoy by the tie and pulling him into a swinging fist. A bruise quickly begins to form on McCoy's cheek as Lucy undoes her seatbelt and steps out of the car. She goes to McCoy's door and rips it open before then ripping McCoy out of his car seat and tossing him to the floor before kicking him repeatedly. Let's get the fuck inside, Lucy says. Get the fuck up. McCoy gets up, and he and Lucy approach the warehouse, but stop when they hear a groan from inside the McCoy car. Turning back, they see the small frame of a Victorian paperboy rubbing his face. Oh, motherfucker, what the hell? Jerome says. Oh, right, the paperboy, McCoy says. Can you watch the car for us, junior detective? Yeah, Jerome says. Oh, my fuckhead. McCoy and Lucy rush into the building, guns drawn. In the middle of the warehouse, illuminated by a dim ceiling light, are a few bodies surrounding a crushed table. Officers are all over the warehouse, searching around with flashlights. What the hell happened here? McCoy asks. Mob meeting, Officer Remy replies. As you can see, some of our boys in blue were here undercover at the time. Undercover in police uniforms? Lucy asks. Yeah, Remy says. They was, pretending to be on mob payroll. Pretending, Lucy repeats. I'm sure. Lucy and McCoy holster their guns and approach the table and the bodies. The collapsed table has a clear, bloody shoe print on it, and the bodies are all inflicted with various slashes, and more than one has a gun in its hand. Some of them have police uniforms, while others are in pinstripe suits. One body in particular seems to have been dragged away from the table, leaving behind it a trail of blood. The head of this body has been pulverized into nothingness, crushed under what appears to be a torn-out wall vault that sits closed.
Is that the vault from the professor's apartment?
I guess that ties our home intruder to whatever happened here. And I guess whatever super strength was enough to tear it out of the wall and climb down 4 stories with it still wasn't enough to rip it open. Lucy puts on a latex glove and gets to work on the combination lock, pressing her ear against the safe. In a few turns, she has it open and retrieves a handful of papers.
These are notes about vampires? McCoy says, confused.
Really old notes, Lucy says. Like, really old. This is parchment paper. Come to think of it, this looks like the kind of thing a professor can find from a university library.
So, a professor who gets consulted by the mob about supernatural matters has been looking into vampires lately, McCoy says. You think the mob's been having vampire trouble?
Well, that's what the clues point towards, Lucy says. But I don't believe in vampires.
You haven't been with me very long, doll, McCoy says. You'll be surprised what you believe in once you skim the bottom of the city's underbelly for all the criminal, skim that one can eat?
Very convincing speech, sir, Lucy says, before taking a closer look at the blood pooling on the ground. Lucy's eye is caught by subtle impressions in the dusty floor, as well as a subtle trail of blood drips leading away. Whoever or whatever did this, I think it went this way, Lucy says. McCoy and Lucy follow the footprints in the dust, which lead to the wall of the warehouse where the footprints end.
Look at this,
McCoy says, running a hand on the wall.
What are these little punctures in the wall?
Lucy looks closer and sees several sets of 5 cleat-like punctures in the sheet metal walls. Lucy pulls out a little flashlight and shines it on the wall, following the punctures up the wall with her eyes until they reach an open window. Guess they left the warehouse through this window, Lucy says.
They're probably long gone, but we might be able to find some more clues if we walk that way, McCoy says. Care for some fresh air, doll?
McCoy and Lucy step outside the warehouse and walk out in the direction the window faces, scanning the floor back and forth with their flashlights. Not seeing any clear signs that anyone went this way, Lucy says.
Let's go over the facts of the case, McCoy grumps. Vinny is forced into employment at Tony's. Vinny is sent to the professor's apartment for a private show. Or so Tony says. This professor works for the mob on paranormal matters and has been researching vampires recently. We find this professor dead and no sign of Vinny. Then several mobsters are murdered, with a stolen artifact from the professor's apartment at the scene. Signs point to Vinny being behind this, but why?
Tony might know, Doll says. He's the one who sent Vinny there. And his sudden shift in profession from making pizza to running a strip club is pretty sussy-wussy amogus bad times.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I thought it would be funny to say.
It was just kind of cringe.
Whatever. Lucy and McCoy wander into a nearby spot of woods and walk between the trees and into the bramble under the light of the moon. Soon they find themselves at some old, ruined brick buildings. What are these? Lucy asks.
Looks like an old place you'd get emissions done at, McCoy says. Probably closed 20 years ago and was left to be reclaimed by nature. I guess the more the city turns into a cesspit, the parts that already were become ruins.
The two stop as they see a bloody handprint next to the doorless doorway of the building. The two exchange a look and draw their guns before entering. Lucy and McCoy shine their flashlights around, inspecting their surroundings, but find only dust, discarded tin cans, and a puddle of oil.
Lucy, look!
Oh my god, what is it?
There's an entire abandoned Burger King meal here. It's caked in like 20 years of dust, but it's completely untouched.
What the hell?
I know, right?
Why would someone buy an entire Whopper combo and just leave it out on a counter for 20 years?
And how is it that it's completely untouched by mold or vermin?
Okay, forget Vinny for a minute. We need to get to the bottom of what the fuck is going on with this burger.
I agree.
A vampire lunges down from the ceiling and slashes McCoy across the chest with its claws. Lucy screams and fires her pistol at the vampire. The bullet from her gun pierces the snarling, feral humanoid through the chest, and it stumbles back and away from McCoy. Lucy watches in frenzied horror as the fresh flesh wound begins to close before her eyes. Lucy shines her light onto the vampire and lets out an involuntary scream, for the visage before her is that of the missing Vinny, still wearing her outfit from Tony's, but with long distended claws, long fangs, and blood soaking her hands and mouth. Lucy takes a shaking step back, her breaths more labored and shuddering, but steadies herself and tries to be observant. She notices that under one arm the vampire Vinny is holding a large tome, about the size of the book she and McCoy suspects was taken from the professor's house. Lucy fires another shot at Vinny's arm, trying to make her drop the book. The bullet pierces Vinny's wrist, and she drops the tome to the ground. McCoy sits up, and raises his magnum revolver to take aim at Vinny. Vinny turns to him, illuminated in Lucy's flashlight, and McCoy sees for the first time her unnatural, twisted, undead form. McCoy lets out an involuntary scream, higher pitched than Lucy's, and then prepares to fire his magnum. However, as he looks closer at Vinny's face, he sees more than just undead fury and burning killer instinct, but also an unmistakable fear in her eyes. McCoy drops his gun. "Whoa, what are you doing, boss?" Lucy yells.
"It's Vinny," McCoy says. "She's our missing person. Vinny. Oh my god, I'm so glad you're okay."
McCoy shuffles to his feet, hands raised.
"Vinny," McCoy says. "Hot Pants asked us to find you. She's been worried sick. I'm so sorry for walking in here with a gun. We didn't know who was in here. God, how are you doing? How have you been? The goth look really suits you."
Vinny stares in a mix of rage and confusion at McCoy for a moment before tackling him out of her way with her shoulder and leaping through a window. She runs out into the woods with unnatural speed and is long gone in moments. Lucy holsters her gun and helps McCoy up to his feet. "This is terrible," Lucy says.
"What are you talking about?" McCoy says. "We just proved that our client's gal is still alive. This is wonderful news."
"Sir, she's an undead monster."
Wow, doll. Just because somebody has the undead condition doesn't mean they're a monster, okay?
"We're going to have to inform Hot Pants that her lover is an unholy abomination now."
Seriously, doll? After all the oppression you face, you're going to pull the unholy abomination card on her?
"I like women, and she's an undead monster in league with Satan. These are not the same thing."
Doll, that's all fiction. We don't know how real-life vampires work. Who knows? Maybe she is a Satan girl like in the books, but maybe in reality it's more like a skin condition.
"Skin condition?"
Doll, where should we go next? The university or to Tony's?
Probably the university.
You calm down quick?
I don't know. Questions tend to calm me down. McCoy and Lucy get back to the car, but she draws a gun on him. McCoy raises his hands and gets into the passenger seat, allowing Lucy to get in the driver's seat. Once in the driver's seat, Lucy reads the title of the large tome that Vinny dropped. "Vampirism and Common Household Remedies," Lucy says. I guess she didn't want to be a vampire.
"The only question is, how did she become one to begin with?" McCoy says, taking the book and flipping through it.
"Who became a what now?" Jerome says from the back of the car.
"Jerome, do you want to drive?"
"Motherfucker, I'm 10. Jerome, could you flip through these papers?" Lucy asks, throwing the papers they got from the professor's vault into the back. "Oh yeah," Jerome says, his Victorian voice returning. "I'm good at reading, miss." Lucy starts the car and begins driving to the university. "You boys find any useful information in those?" Lucy asks as they drive down the flooding city streets.
These. The title of this book is Vampirism Common Household Remedies, doll.
Fantastic work. How about you, kid? Jerome responds by vomiting onto the floor. "Sorry, miss," Jerome says. "I'm usually real good at reading, but not in a moving car." Or maybe that was because of the car crash earlier. "Right," Lucy says. "That's why I let McCoy drive. I forgot who does the reading around here." As Lucy says this, and as she's distracted by her conversation, she crashes into a car parked outside the university, denting the fenders of both cars.
"We're really unlucky today," McCoy says. "That was 2 3s in a row. You could have spent 2 luck to pass, though, doll." "What the fuck are you talking about?"
McCoy and Lucy enter the university library, and at the desk they see a old woman. Oh my," the old crone croinks. "I'm sorry, we're moments away from closing for the night."
"Oh, we don't intend to keep you open, miss."
"Gertrude. Is Gertrude a good name for an old woman?" Sure, I'm Miss Gertrude.
Miss Gertrude. Charmed.
No, I'm not.
No, I mean I'm charmed. I'm Detective McCoy. Private Eye. This is my secretary. She likes women.
Oh, my. So, yeah, what do you want, mate? We found some missing papers, Lucy says. Do you recognize these? Lucy places the papers from the professor's vault on the desk, and the librarian looks them over. Oh, yes. They're surviving pages from a very old book about the supernatural from some time between 1600 and 1800. They're called
Die Vampir-Tagebucher.
Die Vampir-Tagebucher.
really old paper about vampires. It says so right in the corner, but you probably couldn't read it because it's German. It was checked out from the university archives just a day or so ago. It was checked out by Professor Peabody from the university archives. We normally never let any papers from down there leave the building, but Peabody is a long-tested and trustworthy professor who had top marks at Miskatonic University.
Did he mention why he was doing research into this topic?
Well, he did, actually. In blunt detail, in fact. You see, I call him trustworthy in the sense that he always returns what he borrows, but he's rather, eccentric. He believes in the supernatural outright and isn't shy about it, so when he asked to have these papers, he told me exactly why. He thinks a string of murders that has taken place in the city lately are related to, or even been caused by, vampires. Mind you, he's not the only true believer among the professors here, but he is the only one who would just say he thinks vampires are running amok rather than think of something more normal to say.
We met a vampire less than an hour ago.
And now we have another two. Well, I wouldn't be as open about it, Lucy says. Don't lump me in with them, please. Anyway, what are these murders? Well, there have been a lot of extremely violent murders for the last 2 months. These murders have some suggestive similarities. They typically involve victims who have had their throats ripped out, and in some cases, small puncture wounds on the side of the throat have been noted as well. I can almost understand how these details can lead a batty old professor to believe vampires are behind it, but there's an even weirder shared detail behind them I think deserves more attention.
What's that?
All of the murder victims were owners of, certain establishments. Establishments such as, Lucy asks. Well, Gertrude says, the whorehouses. Strip clubs where women stripped for naughty boys. Why, back in my day, showing an ankle was considered indecent, you know. How uncouth. How old are you? Lucy asks. Oh, let me just, 74, dear. So, what, you were born in the 50s? What does that make your days? The fucking 70s? I don't know why I said the ankle thing. It just seemed like the old thing to do.
Just one more thing, McCoy says. Do you know what the paper's about? The, German paper?
Well, the full text would have covered vampires in great detail, Gertrude says. However, as for these surviving pages, they mostly cover a certain artifact that's said to have been crafted by medieval wizards, known as the Vampire Medallion. Apparently it was a magical artifact that had the ability to control vampires, and it was crafted in an attempt to defend against and even potentially weaponize vampires. However, at least according to legend, the Vampire Medallion can only be wielded by wizards, and ironically vampires, and it has been in the possession of both wizards who combat vampires and vampires who sought to become warlords. Or so the legend says.
Is there any evidence such an artifact actually existed?
Well, an artifact matching the description of the medallion was found a good many years ago, and it was stored in a museum in Transylvania for decades now. Well, until this last October. It was stolen, windows and glass cases smashed, and 1 or 2 security guards murdered in... Well, now that I think about it, in ways that are weirdly reminiscent of the recent murders of strip club owners. McCoy and Lucy exchange a look.
Thank you for your time, McCoy says. But one more thing. You're just a librarian. How do you know all this weirdly relevant information that you're dumping right now?
Well, you see, Gertrude stammers. Shit, he's on to me. Gertrude throws a smoke bomb on the ground and disappears. Lucy and McCoy step outside into the rain. The time is a little past midnight. Tony is looking real suspicious right now, Lucy says.
I say we pay the man a little visit, McCoy groans. He'll probably still be at his establishment. He stays pretty late into the night doing paperwork. Let's go pay him a little visit.
McCoy and Lucy step into their car. McCoy inspects his revolver.
You fired a shot with your gun earlier, McCoy says. You better reload, doll, and be ready for anything. I've got a bad feeling about this. I feel it in my throat. I feel it in my throat, doll. I feel it in my I'm not gonna say that, but I feel it in my throat.
Lucy, it's really hard to do this voice all the time. God. Whew.
But yeah, I feel it in my I feel it.
A battered little car, dwarfed by the cyclopean metropolis around it, flies valiantly down shadowy city streets as sheets of rain batter it in an endless assault. Cigarette smoke rises from every window and alleyway. A shadow hangs over the city, and within this humble car sits the Crusaders locked in a losing battle against it. And you promise you can drive while I do first aid on you? Lucy asks, wiping a cut on McCoy's chest with a cleaning wipe.
Doll, I could shoot a piss ant off a dick from 1,000 bards while diving discark, McCoy slurs.
Are you having a strunk? So you guys really think Tony's behind it all? Jerome, part-time Victorian paperboy, asks.
He's at least behind some of it. I intend to find out how far his involvement goes, but the more involved he is, the more dangerous this meeting will be. There's a good chance one or more of us won't make it out of this. Do you want to come inside with us?
Bruh, fuck no. I ain't dealing with no vampires, no ghosts, no goblins, no skeletons, no nothing. Lucy finishes applying bandages to McCoy. There we go. Jerome, have you gleaned anything else from those papers? It basically says that the Vampire Medallion gives anyone who wields it control of vampires. Yeah, that old crone might have been talking out her ass when she said only wizards and vampires can use it. Hey, you motherfuckers are lucky I can read German. Wait, so we can use it? Yeah, that sounds like a super useful thing to own. You think you want the medallion for yourselves? Who knows, if there are vampire problems in the city ever again, that thing would be perfect to have around.
Let's just say I've got plans for that medallion.
McCoy does a handbrake turn and comes skidding to a halt while doing a perfect parallel park just outside of Tony's Dancing Gals.
Tiny Tim.
Jerome.
If we don't come back in 15 minutes, call the cops.
Got it, boss. McCoy and Lucy step out into the rain and double-check their guns. McCoy lights a cigarette and the two step inside. As they enter Tony's Dancing Gals, most of the lights are out, but one or two neon pink lights cast McCoy and Lucy in a reddish glow. Who's there? A voice calls from the back office. Hey, we're closed. Scram.
Tony, it's me and Doll. We're here to talk to you about your missing gal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, come on in. Boss?
I know.
Boss, Tony's elite goth girls are standing in the shadows watching us.
I know. Come on.
McCoy and Lucy walk forward, McCoy with a confident stride, with Lucy waddling awkwardly close behind. From the shadows around them, just outside the reach of the pink stage lights, the faces of 5 women in gothic lingerie turn their heads to watch the detective and his brave secretary approach the office. Ah, detective. And your fine little lady, too. Please, have a seat. Lucy stands next to the door, arms folded. McCoy takes a seat and puts his feet up on Tony's desk. Tony raises an eyebrow at the rude gesture.
We found Vinny.
Ah, good. I was worried sick about her. It's, real unlike any of my gals to not return when I send them out on a job. So, how is she?
I think we better talk about her client first. The good professor's been murdered.
Oh. That's horrible. Crying shame. Being burgled is one thing, but murdered too? Poor old man.
I never said he was burgled. Whatever gave you that impression?
Tony smirks and shrugs. The only crime that happens more than murder in this city is burglary. And the Venn diagram of the two is damn near a circle.
Vinny is a vampire now.
What the fuck? McCoy, really, you gotta lay off the literal sauce you drink.
I'm dead serious. Saw her with my own eyes, Tone. And it's got me thinking. Vinny wasn't a vampire before she was working here, but now she is. What would you happen to know about that?
Look, I don't even check my girls for diseases or nothing. What makes you think I delve into whether or not they're a vampire before they work? Besides, what makes you so sure she was a vampire? She probably just looked real pale or something.
She reacted poorly to garlic.
Ha! That's an urban myth. Real vampires aren't allergic to no garlic.
Well, I made the garlic thing up. But you seem real confident about what things are and aren't true about vampires for a former pizza guy, Tone.
Tony falls silent and stares ominously.
So, Vinny is sent by you to this guy's place. There's a robbery, and the guy ends up dead that very night.
Sounds like Vinny's a prime suspect. Not that I'm a detective or nothing.
But you're the one who sent her there.
Tony shrugs. McCoy puffs on a cigarette.
Tony, let me see your teeth.
My teeth? Seriously, Zuck? You think I'm a fucking vampire? Why don't you check your secretary's panty drawer for a witch's hat while you're at it?
Let me see your teeth, Tony. Or maybe I'll hire one of your elite gals so I can take a look at theirs.
Tony leans back in his seat and picks up the glass of whiskey he'd been drinking. He chuckles and takes a sip. You really want to see my fucking teeth, Zuck?
I really fucking do, Tone.
Sure. Sure, buddy. I'll show you my fucking teeth. Tony's jaw distends, revealing two massive extending fangs. He leaps across the table at McCoy, but McCoy kicks the desk and causes his chair to be thrown backwards. He blocks Tony with his legs and rolls back with his chair, throwing Tony into the opposite wall. Lucy draws her pistol and takes aim at Tony. Lucy fires 2 shots at Tony, one hitting him in the chest and the other hitting him in the neck. Tony lets out a gurgling screech before climbing up the wall and onto the ceiling with proportional roach-like speed and lunging down at Lucy. As Tony's wounds quickly begin to close, he digs both of his claws into Lucy's shoulders. She cries out in pain as Tony pins her to the floor. But even as her grip wavers, she manages to keep hold of her gun. Still on the floor, McCoy takes advantage of Tony's hunched-over position, rolling over and pointing his magnum revolver a few inches away from the stooping Tony's forehead. Tony is thrown violently from Lucy's body as a big hole is blown in his head. As if riding the force of the bullet, Tony throws himself in the direction the shot went in unison with it, crashing through his office door and into the main room of the establishment.
You okay, doll?
Let's just get the bastard before he gets away. McCoy and Lucy step out into the lounge, still illuminated by pink light. They stop as they see one of Tony's elite gals step in front of the front door, and another block the way into the office. Another blocks the way into the back door, and the remaining 2 circle McCoy and Lucy. Tony's voice echoes out of the surrounding darkness. I have to admit when I'm got, you know. Truth is, I was sick of being a friendly neighborhood pizza guy. All those years beating dough, and what did I get? Community spirit? Decent living? Tch, who needs that shit? Last October, when I took that vacation to Transylvania, I learned all about vampires at the Museum of Antiquity. And that's when I realized my true calling. You have no idea the terrible things I did to become a vampire, Zuck. But it was all worth it when I knew about the vampire medallion. In the past, I had to use blackmail or extortion to hold even a smidge of control over the bitches in my life. But not anymore. Ain't nothing stopping me now. I've already been having my elite gals murder all of my competition. I'll start a strip club empire with an army of vampire strippers who will work for me for free. The runway leading to the main dancing pole lights up in bright pink, with Tony standing amidst the curtain at the back. Tony walks up with a confident strut. "You're a friend, so I'll kill you myself, McCoy. As for your broad, I think she'll look great in lingerie, don't you?" Lucy and McCoy take aim in unison and fire their pistols. Tony leaps up, dodging their bullets and clinging to the ceiling. Tony pounces at McCoy with his claws out. McCoy tries to dodge, but Tony whizzes past him while dragging his claws across McCoy's chest, leaving a deep gash. McCoy and Lucy spin around to face Tony and fire their pistols at him again. Lucy fires her gun twice, one shot missing and the other hitting Tony in the shoulder. McCoy fires once, his powerful pistol blasting a hole in Tony's chest and forcing the superhumanly strong man back a step. Undeterred, the undead brute lunges at McCoy, but McCoy slyly dodges and trips Tony, sending the monster stumbling with its own superhuman speed and crashing face first into the base of the runway. Lucy and McCoy fire their guns again. Lucy fires once, and the shot is sound, but Tony moves his head out of the way at the last second. McCoy fires a shot from his magnum at Tony, but Tony leaps up onto the ceiling to avoid the hit. However, as Tony bounces off of the ceiling to pounce down at McCoy, McCoy fires a second shot, hitting Tony in the clavicle. The vampire is knocked out of midair and spirals to the ground. McCoy steps towards the grounded vampire to press his revolver against the back of the creature's head, but when he pulls the trigger, there's only a click. Fuck! Tony suddenly stands up and slams his elbow into McCoy's chest hard. McCoy is thrown backward, crashing through some lounge tables. McCoy winces in an unpleasant recognition that one of his ribs has been broken, though the pain hasn't caught up to him yet. Lucy points her pistol at Tony and pulls the trigger, but her gun merely clicks as well. She frantically tries to reload her gun as Tony turns to face her. McCoy, on the floor, begins loading bullets into his gun with shaking hands. Tony walks towards Lucy slowly and with determination as she fumbles with her gun, dropping the empty magazine on the ground while hastily loading another. Just as Tony takes a big step forward to attack, her quivering hands become steady, and she loads the new magazine before firing a round into Tony. The bullet rips through Tony's chest, but the demon leaps forward and slashes Lucy down one arm with his claw. Lucy stumbles back, falling down to one knee. McCoy tries to reload faster, but his hands are trembling too much. Tony stands over Lucy, sneering at her. "I have plans for you, but to make you behave until then, I'll be taking that leg of yours. Don't worry, it'll reattach once I convert you." Tony raises his claw and takes a swing at Lucy, but at the last moment the skylight shatters. Vinny comes down from above, shrieking in rage, and digs her claws into Tony's back. Vinny then swings her arms around and throws Tony, rolling him across the runway and crashing through tables on the other side. Vinny leaps over the runway and swings her claws at Tony, cutting through his shirt and down his chest. "Crazy bitch. I thought it was weird you resisted the medallion before, but I didn't think you would break free entirely." Vinny lunges at Tony with her claws, but overreaches, allowing Tony to slash her across the face with his claws. Vinny retreats back, narrowly avoiding another attack from Tony. Blood runs down her face, but the wounds quickly close. "Maybe you won't resist my medallion if I turn your girlfriend into a vampire too. You and her can work for me together. Wouldn't that be fun?" Vinny lets out another scream of fury and swings her claws at Tony rapidly. She swings her claws 6 times in a blind rage, 3 of her attacks missing. Tony dodges one of her attacks, but the remaining 2 swings strike true, cutting a chunk out of his head and neck. Tony falls to the floor and tries to crawl backwards away from her, but Vinny gives chase. She swings her claws at Tony another 5 times, and though he dodges some by moving back, he's slashed multiple times, losing some fingers and receiving deep gashes across his chest that go to the bone. Vinny raises her arm high above her head to give a finishing blow, but just as she swings her claws one last time at Tony's neck, Tony reaches into his coat pocket with his remaining good hand and pulls out a medallion made of a weird greenish metal with odd runes and engravings carved into it. Vinny's arm stops, but she doesn't lower it. She groans and grunts and tries to follow through, but can't. Tony stares intently at Vinny, pushing the medallion closer and gripping it tighter, until finally she lowers her arm, tears running down her face. "I hope you're all proud of yourselves, making a fucking mess of my fine establishment, forcing me to rough up some gals." Tony stands up, his wounds quickly closing. "McCoy, I'm disappointed in you. Having women do the fighting for you? I'm not giving you the honor of dying by my hand anymore. Gals, your master commands you to rip the detective apart limb from limb. Spare his bitch, though. She'll be joining you shortly. Tony holds his medallion on high, causing it to shimmer with a sickly green light. Vinny and the other 5 vampiric women begin approaching the wounded McCoy. McCoy grimaces.
I'm the one who's disappointed, Tone, McCoy says, working his way back to his knees. There ain't nothing I hate more in this world than someone controlling someone else. I was hoping you became a vampire by accident and I could save you. But you tell me you chose to become this? I'm out of mercy, Tone.
You? Out of mercy for me? You ain't the one who has the power to be merciful here, old friend.
Oh, but I am, and I have none to give, old friend. And now justice will be wrought upon you.
How are you going to wreak horrible justice upon me when you're bleeding out over there?
Oh, it's not my place to wreak justice upon you. There are far more fitting candidates right here. Goodbye, Tone.
McCoy raises his magnum revolver and fires. The gunshot pierces through the night as the powerful, high-caliber bullet rockets across the room at imperceptible speeds, ripping its way right through the vampire medallion and through Tony's hand. The medallion instantly stops glowing and crumbles into pieces as Tony clutches his bleeding hand. Almost instantly, Vinny and the other vampire women stop approaching McCoy, and after a moment's pause, they all turn to Tony. If possible, the undead Tony goes even more pale. Now, wait a minute, ladies. Let's not be rash. What about due process, eh? Look, I messed up, sure. Why don't I just turn myself in, and you ladies can watch me rot in prison, eh? Sound good? Vinny approaches Tony and places a gentle hand on his shoulder. She smiles softly at him, causing Tony to awkwardly smile back. Vinny then punches Tony through the chest, his still-beating heart in her hand. Tony screams as Vinny drags him to the floor and the other vampire women leap on top of him. Claws fly, slashing and piercing as Tony lets out shrill screams. An arm goes flying, and then a leg, and then the rest of Tony's limbs. Finally, Tony's head is raised on high, held by Vinny and another mistress, and together they rip the head in two and throw it on the floor. The group of vampires continue ripping and tearing at Tony's body until nothing identifiably human remains.
Justice served.
Lucy vomits on McCoy's shoes as he lights up another cigarette.
We almost had a cool moment there, doll. You could have kept it together for like a few more seconds until the camera cut away, doll. You didn't need to throw up on my shoes right after I gave the fucking catchphrase. And you're still vomiting. It's just somebody being liquefied, doll. Come on.
About a week has passed since the confrontation at Tony's, and while there are still 40 murders a day in the city, none of them are vampire-related anymore. On this uncharacteristically sunny day, Detective McCoy and his loyal secretary Lucy, both absolutely covered in bandages, cross the street together, heading towards what was once the location of Tony's Dancing Girls. The sign outside now reads, in big, proud letters, Vampire Lesbian Lounge, with a smaller sign that reads, we promise we don't bite unless you pay us to. Also, we have pizza. McCoy and Lucy enter the building and see Vinny and Charlotte Hotpants standing behind the bar together, organizing glasses and cleaning the counter.
You ladies sure work fast.
What can I say? Vinny says. Superhuman stamina and speed do wonders for an entrepreneur. I really can't thank you enough, Charlotte says in her breathy, damely way. The both of you.
My secretary did all the hard work. Didn't you, doll?
Well, I try. Hey, isn't there a way we can repay you? You want a cut of our profits every month? Come on, dude, we really owe you big time. McCoy raises a dissuading hand.
Nobody owes me nothing aside from their tab, and that tab is always flexible. I ain't never holding nothing over anybody's head. That's my policy.
Well, don't be afraid to swing by any time. And Tony's old pizza oven is in the back, so maybe order a pizza once in a while.
I think I will.
And I think I might moonlight here sometimes. Or just, hang out here. Like a lot. McCoy and Lucy step back out into the street, the sun shining warmly on them. McCoy basks in the sunlight for a moment, closing his eyes and drawing a deep breath. It's the first time Lucy has ever seen McCoy smile in the short time she's worked for him. We did a good thing here.
We sure did.
Hopefully that's the last we'll have to deal with men like Tony. As Lucy says this, clouds quickly engulf the sun, and it begins to rain again.
There's always going to be men like Tony. This city is doomed, doll, but if there's one thing I learned, it's that surviving here is worth it for those little sunny days.
By men like Tony, I meant vampires, but point taken.
Come on, doll. We've got work to do.
Too true. The inevitable fall of the city isn't going to stall itself. And so, the two chucklefucks leap into the McCoy car and speed off into the distance. Their crusade against the inevitable continues. So that's the end of Detective McCoy in Vampires in Lingerie. I plan on doing another one of these next year because I have a lot of fun making it, even though the views aren't great. I don't care, so look forward to more of this at a later time. But I'll probably be getting back to doing video essays now, but I hope you enjoyed. I put a lot of work into these, and I guess I'll see you in a later video. Thanks again for listening. It means so much to me. Even if just 3 people watch this, that's fantastic. Anyways, see you later.